Helena stopped in front of the bathroom mirror and did something she had avoided for years. She looked. Really looked. The wrinkles around her eyes looked like maps of an unknown territory. The gray hairs escaped from her poorly done bun, and her hands, when did they get so marked by time, trembled slightly as she touched her own face. When did I stop seeing myself as beautiful? The question echoed in the silence of the empty apartment. At 65 years old, Helena had become an expert at being invisible. Neutral clothes, hair always tied back, makeup abandoned so long ago. She couldn't even remember where she kept the red lipstick she once wore with pride. But in that tired reflection, there was something she didn't notice. Every line on her face told a story. Every silver strand was a certificate of wisdom earned. Every mark on her hands was a medal from a life fully dedicated to love. Society had taught her that beauty had an expiration date. That at 65, she should be satisfied with just being a grandmother. Just retired. Just invisible. Helena didn't know it yet, but she was about to discover that true, real beauty doesn't age. It matures like a fine wine. That moment in front of the mirror wasn't accidental. It was part of a routine Helena had created to protect herself. A quick look, just enough to check if she was presentable for the world. Never to truly see herself. At the municipal library, where she had worked for 15 years, Helena strategically chose her desk in the darkest corner. Beige blouse, brown pants, hair always tied back in a tight bun that hurt by the end of the day. It was as if she had developed a mathematical formula for invisibility. Neutral colors, plus hunched posture, plus polite smile. Woman no one notices. Good. Morning, Helena, her coworker Roberto murmured as he passed by. He was 45 and still openly flirted with the interns. Helena thought, with a sting of bitterness, when was the moment she stopped being seen as a woman and became just the oldest librarian? During the coffee break, she listened to the younger co-workers talk about relationships, trips, dreams. They spoke about cosmetic procedures, gyms, Tinder dates. Helena sipped her coffee in silence, like an observer of life, not a participant. Her feminine self-esteem had been slowly eroded, like a beach losing sand with each wave. It didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual process of fading away, taking up less space, speaking more quietly, always choosing the last row. At home, the small and tidy apartment reflected the same invisibility philosophy. Discreet furniture, neutral colors, old photographs kept in drawers, as if her feminine history was something embarrassing, something to hide instead of celebrate. In the bedroom drawer, under scarves she never wore, there was a photo album from when she was young. Helena at 25, in a red dress, laughing. Helena at 30, at her wedding, radiant. Helena at 35, pregnant, hands proudly resting on her belly. When had that confident woman disappeared? Society had done a thorough job convincing her that women like her should settle for irrelevance, that her role now was to be a supporting character in other people's lives. Devoted grandmother, quiet employee, invisible citizen. But mirrors, Helena would soon find out, sometimes lie. And real life has a curious way of confronting us with truths we'd rather avoid. That night, after another day of being invisible at the library, Helena did something she hadn't done in years. She opened the photo album. The yellowed pages creaked under her fingers, as if protesting for being ignored for so long. There. She was at 22, freshly graduated in literature, eyes shining full of dreams. She wore a blue dress that highlighted her slim waist, hair loose in the wind, a wide, confident smile. Helena touched the photo as if she could reach that young woman and ask, "Where did you go?" The change hadn't been sudden. It had started subtly at 28, when she married Miguel. He wasn't a bad man, just traditional. "Helena, don't. You think that dress is too flashy for a married woman?" The first seed of doubt planted with apparent care. Then came the children. Bruno at 30, Carla at 32. And with them, a transformation she accepted as natural. Her dreams of writing a book were put away temporarily. Her colorful clothes gave way to practical pieces. Her self-care routine was replaced by sleepless nights and busy mornings. A good mother dedicates herself fully to her children, repeated her mother-in-law Donna Teresa, always ready with unsolicited advice. Helena soaked up every word like a sponge, believing that giving herself up was a sign of maternal self-love. At 40, when the children were already teenagers and she could have taken back some dreams, the phase of elderly parents arrived. Her father with Alzheimer's, her mother with diabetes. Helena became a full-time caregiver, dividing herself between home, the job she held at the library, and hospitals. Miguel, who had never been very involved, withdrew even more. "You're always tired, Helena. You don't have time for me anymore." The irony was cruel. She had no time for anyone, including herself. The lack of female solidarity was glaring. The other women in the family praised her dedication, but none offered real help. "Helena always handles everything," they said with admiration that sounded like a sentence. At 50, when she finally became a widow, Miguel died of a heart attack at 55. Helena realized she had become a stranger to herself. She looked in the mirror and saw a tired woman, with hair beginning to turn white, a body that had forgotten how to take care of itself. Her children, already adults with their own lives, called on Sundays and special dates. "How are you, Mom?" "Fine," she always answered, because she no longer knew how she really was. Her feminine history had become a series of care for others, silent sacrifices, small daily deaths of the woman she once was. She had internalized the belief that her role was to be useful, never beautiful, to be needed, never desired. The emotional narrative she built about herself was one of noble sacrifice, but the price had been too high. She had completely lost herself along the way. Closing the album, Helena realized something disturbing. She couldn't remember the last time someone told her she was beautiful. She couldn't remember the last time she had felt like a woman, not just a mother, caregiver, or employee. Tomorrow would be another day like any other at the library. But something small and dormant inside her had begun to move, like a seed feeling the first drop of rain after a long winter. The first drop of rain came on a Tuesday in March, when Helena was organizing books in the biography section. A young woman, about 35 years old, approached carrying a professional camera and a smile that lit up her whole face. "Excuse me, do you work here?" the woman asked, and Helena immediately noticed that she was looking her in the eyes, something that rarely happened. "Yes, can I help you?" Helena replied in her usual professional tone, but something in that woman's energy made her straighten her shoulders slightly. "My name is Mariana. I'm a photographer. I'm working on a project about strong women across generations, and I need help researching stories of women who have lived through decades of social change." Helena automatically pointed toward the history books. "The women's biography section is over there, and we also have..." "Actually," Mariana interrupted gently, "I was thinking of real stories, of real women, like you." Helena blinked, confused. "Me? But I don't have an interesting story." Mariana laughed, and the sound was so genuine that Helena felt something strange happen inside her chest, like a muscle that had wasted away trying to move again. "Can I sit?" Mariana asked, pulling a chair without waiting for an answer. "You said you don't have an interesting story. How old are you?" 65, Helena muttered, as if it were a sin. 65 years of life and you tell me you don't have an interesting story." Mariana tilted her head, studying Helena's face with the intensity of an artist in front of a work of art. "Look at your hands." Helena instinctively hid her hands under the table, but Mariana was faster, gently holding them. "These hands tell stories. These marks here." She traced a small scar on Helena's index finger. "Was that from cutting onions to feed a family?" And these lines on the palms, they've worked their whole life, haven't they? Helena felt her eyes well up. No one had touched her hands with such reverence in years. Your eyes, Mariana continued, have the depth of someone who has cried a lot and learned that tears can water growth. And those wrinkles around them, they're maps of the smiles you gave, even when you didn't feel like it. I don't see myself like that, Helena whispered. Because no one ever really looked at you, Mariana replied with devastating simplicity. You became invisible because society teaches women like you that after a certain age, they lose the right to be seen. But photography doesn't lie, Helena. It reveals beauty where others only see aging. Helena felt something inside her break. Not from pain, but like when a tight shell finally cracks to let the plant grow. I would really like you to be part of my project, Mariana said, still holding her hands. Not as a researcher, but as the main subject. As one of the strong women I want to photograph. I don't know. I'm not photogenic. Helena, Mariana smiled. Authenticity is always photogenic. Your feminine story deserves to be told, seen, celebrated. For the first time in decades, Helena felt that someone saw her, really saw her. Not as an employee, not as a grandmother, not as a woman who had to apologize for taking up space, but as a woman. Simply a woman. And that feeling was both scary and freeing at the same time. 3 days after meeting Mariana, Helena did something she hadn't done in over a decade. She stopped in front of a clothing store window. Not to admire what she couldn't have, but to really see the possibilities. Can I help you? Asked the saleswoman, a young woman who looked no older than 25. I need something for a photo shoot, Helena said, and the word sounded strange coming from her own mouth. When was the last time she had prepared to be photographed? The saleswoman studied her for a moment, and Helena braced herself for the pitying look she always received. Instead, the young woman smiled genuinely. What an interesting project. Let's find something that highlights your personality. An hour later, Helena left the store carrying a bag with a wine-colored blouse. It brings out your eyes, the saleswoman had said, and a dark pair of pants that shaped her body without completely hiding it. At home, for the first time in years, Helena opened the drawer where she kept her old makeup. Most of it was expired, but she found a red lipstick still intact. She applied it slowly, as if she were not only redefining her lips, but rediscovering who she was. In the mirror, she saw something different. Not the complete transformation magazine sell, but the first glimpse of the woman who had been hidden for so long. The red of her lips contrasted with the gray strands of her hair in an interesting way. Maybe I don't need to hide my white hair, she murmured to herself, letting down the tight bun for the first time in front of a mirror. The strands fell over her shoulders, some rebellious, others wavy. It wasn't the hair of a 25-year-old, but it was her hair, her story in silver strands. On the morning of the photo shoot, Helena woke up with a mix of nervousness and something she hadn't felt in a long time: anticipation. She put on her new outfit, applied the red lipstick, and brushed her loose hair. In Mariana's makeshift studio, actually a space in the city center with natural light, Helena felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with physical nudity. You look beautiful, Mariana said simply, adjusting her camera. Now tell me, when do you feel most like yourself? I don't know anymore, Helena answered honestly. Then let's find out together. What followed was a kind of emotional archaeology. Mariana asked Helena to talk about her favorite books, and her eyes lit up mentioning Garcia Marquez. Click. She asked Helena to show her hands and tell the story behind a scar. Helena smiled, remembering the day she tried to surprise Miguel with a homemade dish. Click. Now close your eyes and remember a moment when you felt powerful. Helena closed her eyes and, to her surprise, didn't think about when she was young. She thought of the day she defended a coworker from a sexist boss. She was 52 and had felt an inner strength that surprised her. When she opened her eyes, tears were streaming down her face, but not from sadness. "I had forgotten," she whispered. "Forgotten what?" "That I am stronger than I imagine." Mariana smiled behind the camera. "And that, Helena, is what I call real beauty. It has nothing to do with age. It's about truth." For 2 hours, Helena rediscovered gestures, expressions, parts of herself she had buried beneath decades of self-sacrifice. It wasn't a magical transformation, but the beginning of a reconnection with her own self-love. When she left the studio, for the first time in years, Helena didn't lower her eyes when passing people on the street. Her steps were different, not those of a woman who apologizes for existing, but of someone beginning to remember her own worth. A week later, Mariana called. "Helena, I need you to come over. The photos are ready." Helena's heart raced. For 7 days, she had swung between curiosity and terror. What if the photos showed exactly what she had always feared to see? What if Mariana, despite all her kindness, couldn't work miracles? At the studio, Mariana had set up a laptop on a table beside 2 cups of tea. Her smile was brighter than usual. "Before you see the photos, I want you to tell me one thing," Mariana said, pouring the tea. "How do you feel today?" Helena thought for a moment. During the week, she had kept some of her new habits: the red lipstick, loose hair at home, the colorful blouse at work. Small changes that brought small impacts. "Different," she answered honestly. "Like I'm waking up from a very long sleep." "Perfect. Now you're ready." Mariana turned the laptop towards Helena, and the world stopped. On the screen was a woman Helena knew but didn't recognize. It was undoubtedly her. The same wrinkles, the same silver hair, the same hands marked by time. But something was completely different. Her eyes shone with a depth that seemed oceanic. The wrinkles around them were not signs of decay, but maps of lived expressions, smiles given even in pain, tears that watered growth, tender looks aimed at children, parents, students, people who had crossed her path. "Oh my God," Helena whispered, touching the screen. "Is this me?" "This has always been you," Mariana replied softly. "I just showed what was already there." Helena moved to the next photo. In this one, she was smiling. A smile that wasn't posed but genuine, captured the moment she spoke about Garcia Marquez. Her gray hair looked like silver threads under the natural light, and there was an elegance there that had nothing to do with youth. "Here," Mariana pointed to a photo where Helena showed her hands. "Look at the story your hands tell." In the image, Helena's hands were open, palms up, as if offering the world all they had built. The lines, the marks, the small scars, all told a story of work, love, a life genuinely lived. "These hands," Helena murmured, touching her own palms, "cared for people, built a home, worked honorably for decades. And these wrinkles," Mariana pointed to a close-up photo of Helena's face, "are certificates of authenticity. Each one earned honestly. Sleepless nights caring for young children, tears of worry for aging parents, smiles of genuine joy." Helena found herself crying, but not from sadness. It was as if she were seeing her true reflection for the first time in decades. Not the version society wanted her to see. A disposable woman, out of time, worthless. But the woman she really was. Strong, wise, beautiful in a way that transcended any imposed standard. "Do you know what impresses me most about these photos?" Mariana asked. "What?" "Dignity. You carry a dignity that only comes with truly living. It's not the plastic beauty the media sells. It's real beauty, authentic, earned, deserved." Helena looked at the last photo in the sequence. In it, she was serious, looking directly into the camera. There was no attempt to look younger or hide the marks of time. There was only a 65-year-old woman finally allowing herself to be seen. "I'm beautiful," Helena said, and it was the first time she had spoken those words aloud in more than 20 years. "You always were," Mariana smiled. "You just needed to remember." 3 months later, the municipal library had become a different place. Not because it had physically changed, but because Helena had changed the energy of the space simply by occupying it differently. She wore colors now, not just the red blouse she had bought, but blues, greens, even a soft yellow that highlighted the golden tones hidden in her silver hair. Her hair, by the way, was always loose, wavy, free, like her. "Helena, you look different," said Roberto, the colleague, who had barely noticed her before. "More radiant." She smiled and continued her work, but now with an upright posture, confident movements. She had discovered that confidence was like perfume. Those who wore it always attracted attention, even subtly. Mariana's project had taken on a life of its own. Helena's photos, along with those of other mature women, were exhibited in a gallery downtown. The exhibition's title was "Strong Women, Beauty Without Expiry Date." At the exhibition opening, Helena barely recognized herself in the crowd gathered to see the photographs. Women of all ages stopped before her image, some with tears in their eyes. "That's my mother," a 40-year-old woman told her friend. "She also thinks she's not beautiful anymore. My grandmother should see this," a young woman of 20 commented. "She's been hiding behind dark clothes since my grandfather died." Helena realized her story had become bigger than herself. It wasn't just about a 65-year-old woman rediscovering her beauty. It was about all women who had learned to hide, to shrink, to accept invisibility as their natural fate. The most surprising transformation happened when her granddaughter, Sophia, 16 years old, showed up at the library one afternoon. "Grandma, I saw your photos on the internet," the girl said, and Helena felt her stomach tighten. She hadn't thought about how her family would react. "Were you angry?" Helena asked. Sophia laughed, a clear, genuine sound. "Angry? Grandma, I was proud. All my friends said you're amazing. And you know what else? They said they hope to grow old like you." Tears welled in Helena's eyes. "What do you mean?" "With dignity, with beauty, without hiding." Sophia held her grandmother's hands. "You taught me that fake Bella doesn't mean staying young. It means staying true." In the following months, Helena became an involuntary mentor. Women her age came to the library not just for books, but to talk to her. They wanted to know how she had found the courage to show herself, to wear colors, to smile openly. "It wasn't courage," she explained. "It was exhaustion. I got tired of hiding, tired of apologizing for taking up space in the world." The female sisterhood that had been missing in her life began to bloom naturally. An informal group of mature women formed, meeting weekly at the library. They shared stories, fears, postponed dreams. They discovered they weren't alone in their struggles. "Have you noticed," Helena said at one of those meetings, "that we spent decades thinking our female story was something to hide? That our experience, our wisdom, our life's marks were flaws?" The women nodded, recognizing themselves in her words. "But look at us now. Each one of us survived decades of life. We raised children, cared for families, worked, loved, lost, started over. We are living monuments of female resilience." Mariana, who regularly visited the group, smiled seeing what she had helped awaken. "Helena," she said after one meeting, "do you realize you've become a symbol?" "No," Helena replied, looking at the small mirror on the library wall, the same one she had avoided for years. "I just remembered that I've always been beautiful, and I helped other women remember too. In the reflection, she saw a 65-year-old woman, silver hair shining under the light, eyes full of life, serene smile. She saw beauty, not despite her age, but because of it. She saw the woman who had always been there, patiently waiting to be recognized. True, real beauty had no expiration date. It matured, deepened, became more authentic with time. And Helena had finally understood that her greatest masterpiece wasn't something she would create. It was something she always was, herself. Helena looks in the mirror today and sees stories. Each wrinkle is a chapter of a life lived intensely. Each silver strand is a verse of wisdom earned. Her marked hands are certificates of love given without measure. She learned that society teaches us to fear aging because it doesn't want us to discover the power that comes with experience. Women who have lived decades carry a strength that frightens systems built to keep us small. True personal transformation doesn't happen when we pretend to be younger. It happens when we embrace who we are, with our stories, scars, and victories. When we understand that real beauty is authenticity in its purest form. Helena discovered there is no age to start loving yourself again. No expiration date to reconnect with your own essence. Self-love doesn't age. It matures like a fine wine, becoming richer, more complex, more valuable over time. Today, when young women ask her the secret, Helena smiles and replies, "I stopped apologizing for taking up space in the world." And you, woman reading this now? What story do your wrinkles tell? What wisdom do your gray hairs carry? When was the last time you looked in the mirror and said, "I am beautiful"? Your age is not a flaw to hide. It's a trophy to celebrate. Every year lived is a victory against a world that teaches us to give up on ourselves. Fake Bella doesn't mean staying young. It means staying true. Tell us in the comments, which strong woman in your life deserves to hear this story? Tag her here. And if this story touched your heart, share it so other women remember their own worth. Because women who empower women change the world.